They had to build around those superstars. Make sure that you have the right pieces around the superstar players. Make sure on the sidelines you have MLS experience. And it begs to differ. You have Javier Morales on the sidelines as an assistant coach. That is great. But my big question would be, Felipe, is why would you not give him the opportunity to be the manager?
Welcome back to Scoreline. It's not exactly been all sunshine in South Florida for Inter Miami this season. They suffered their third defeat of the MLS season on Sunday, losing 3-0 at home to Orlando City. They currently sit sixth in the Eastern Conference. Remember, they lost to Vancouver in the CONCACAF Champions Cup last month as well. Ian, broad question, but what's going wrong for them so far this season?
Yeah, it's been a very difficult start for Inter Miami. I actually enjoy watching them play, obviously, with Lionel Messi and all the other big names around him. It's hard not to enjoy watching them perform in Major League Soccer, considering how far Major League Soccer has come and how much it has grown. So it's a wonderful thing to see them there. But when you don't necessarily recognize an identity, a tactical identity, they're basically leaning so heavily on the relationships because of those older players, those classic icons of our game, in particular Lionel Messi. If they don't play well, the team doesn't play well. And when you spend so much money on a lot of big names coming into your club, the Major League Soccer rules makes it very difficult for you to filter a number of quality players around you. So you will inevitably get a lot of mistakes. They brought in a goalkeeper who's really made a ton of mistakes, especially in most recent games. That one in particular against Orlando was a disaster. But I just think that the identity problem they have right now is that we don't know who they are, what they are, how good they are, how they can be competitive, and how on earth this team is going to be able to have a chance to win an MLS Cup. They're relying far too heavily on what Lionel Messi does in that group.
And when we look at the lineup here, obviously you mentioned the big stars. You've got the likes of Suarez, Messi, Alba, Busquets. They jump off the page. But then it is, and whenever you watch them, and you probably watch them more than I have, but you just feel like this is an unbalanced team. It doesn't look like a football team. It looks like a few individuals and then the rest.
Yeah, and when you ask a lot of people out there, do you recognize half of that team name? You simply don't do that, though. Half the team you recognize because they're icons of our game and played so well, obviously, in European football, now coming over to Major League Soccer. Major League Soccer is hard. It's very difficult. You're also a target when you bring in key players like superstar names. You make them DPs, you pay them an excessive amount of money. Immediately you become a target for every team around there. I can perfectly speak to you by example. When David Beckham first came over, I was in the league at that time. Couldn't wait to get stuck into David Beckham. It was like a cup final when you were playing against the superstars back in the day. Juan Pablo Angel. These types of names ring off the tongue as icons of our game because at one point in their career, they were brilliant. You got to remember, these players are getting older now. They're in one of the most competitive leagues in world football, and they have a target on their back. If you don't perform well at their age right now, you've got to be very careful. However, I'm going to throw this out there. In Major League Soccer, you don't have to play well all season long. In Major League Soccer, all you have to do is get above that red line and make sure that you are consistently playing well, confident and healthy when it comes to the business end of the season. Last season, that didn't happen for Inter Miami. They actually had a dip in form at the wrong time at the business end of the season and got knocked out very early on. This season, watch this space because I would imagine they'll take it seriously towards the end of the season. By then, they'll have sorted out a few cracks that are in that squad and they will be performing well at the right time.
And there's still plenty of time left to go, as you said, in the season. You mentioned Beckham there, and he is very much part of the project at Inter Miami so far. And let's kind of recap that project. They've made 2 MLS playoff appearances in 5 seasons. They still have no MLS postseason series wins. Money spent in transfers, and this jumps off the page. Over $75 million, and they didn't spend anything on Lionel Messi, of course, because he was signed on a free, and then they fired Tata Martino after last season. So that is the project so far. Let's chat a bit more to our MLS correspondent, Felipe Cardenas. Great to see you, Felipe. You cover the league, and you cover Inter Miami day in, day out. We speak about the Inter Miami project, but do you think that project needs a bit of a rethink, given how it's going this season?
Well, perhaps, I think the issue with the Inter Miami project is that it's very much a short-term project. I know they're building a stadium, and that stadium is going to be kicking off and launching next season, and it's going to be a huge real estate project that will last many, many years and bring a lot of money to the club. But right now, from a sporting perspective, the team has been built to win for as long as Lionel Messi is playing in the team. So that's like a 3-year plan. And you guys have mentioned it. I think the project, when you look at it from from just the sporting perspective, it does lack a lot of depth. It does lack, I think, stability. This is a sporting department that began with Chris Henderson at the helm. A very well-respected Chris Henderson was let go once his contract ended. One individual steps in, and then another individual steps in. They have a chief soccer officer that has not even been formally announced. And you mentioned Tata Martino. I think, from my understanding, Tata Martino also leaving the club because I think he started to see some of the instability, the volatility that was taking place within the walls of Inter Miami. And so that all set up for a 2025 season of a lot of change. And these aren't excuses because MLS clubs, all of them change at the end of a season. But Inter Miami, I think, was built to be perhaps a little bit better this season. Now, the one place where they did not improve, and I think we haven't touched on it yet, is on the touchline. Javier Mascherano, the inexperienced coach, is his first time coaching a professional club, and they have lost so much experience from having been with Tata Martino, that coached at 2 World Cups for 2 different countries, won an MLS Cup with Atlanta United, broke the points record with Inter Miami, and they really did start from zero, even though Mascherano has a really tight relationship with Messi and the rest of the former Barcelona stars. But I do think it was built for short term, and we're seeing some of the pains that can take place when that happens.
Yeah, I'm glad you actually brought that point up, because I think it's very important to recognize in Major League Soccer in particular, you have to have some sort of experience how to handle this league. You've got to have the experience in the heads on the sidelines who have either played in the league or understand what the rules and regulations are with Major League Soccer, how difficult the whole fixtures will be, when you need to be performing well, when you can rest your players. Obviously, it's an unusual year for Inter Miami with the FIFA Club World Cup coming up. But I found the appointment of Mascherano in particular a very strange one. This is a buddy-buddy relationship that we understand. There's a lot of Argentinians there, a lot of South Americans there. Obviously, the connection we recognize with Barcelona is clearly there. I get it. I understand that. You want to play with the players that you're familiar with so that you can hopefully have some success in Inter Miami jersey. But David Beckham once came over to an LA Galaxy and he struggled initially, Felipe. He didn't necessarily walk in to win the MLS Cup straight away. Didn't quite happen for him. They had to build around those superstars. Make sure that you have the right pieces around the superstar players. Make sure on the sidelines you have MLS experience. And it begs to differ. You have Javier Morales on the sidelines as an assistant coach. That is great. But my big question would be, Felipe, is why would you not give him the opportunity to be the manager? This guy has got Major League Soccer experience. He's won an MLS Cup. He was there, actually a part of my team that won MLS Cup in 2009, competing against David Beckham's LA Galaxy in the final. Why do you have to go to Mascherano? You've already got that MLS experience there. And guess what? He's Argentinian.
Yeah, Javier Morales, for those that don't know, I mean, underrated, low-key, very, very good number 10 for Real Salt Lake. I think a legend at the club there. And he was a key part of Tata Martino's staff as well. Not a right-hand man by any means, but certainly somebody that could bridge the gap between some of the domestic players that didn't know or understand Tata Martino's style of play. And obviously, just to your point, understanding, I think, the culture and the dynamics of Major League Soccer. He was retained. I thought that obviously was a smart decision to keep Javier Morales on Javier Mascherano's staff. But the reason why it's not Morales and it is Mascherano is because of their last names. And Mascherano obviously still a very big name. But I think the other problem, and again, this points towards Javier Mascherano, not that every problem right now is his doing, but a lot of the players that were on Tata Martino's team last year that were either role players or players that he really relied on, like Yannick Bright, Federico Redondo, these are players that have really regressed in 2025. And so you mentioned it. If the 4 big players aren't playing well, the team doesn't play well. But if the core and the collective of the team starts to regress, that's when a team really heavily relies on a player like Lionel Messi. And every team, Argentina, Barcelona, PSG, they've all relied on Messi. So it's not like Inter Miami's in a strange spot here. But there is an over-reliance right now. And Mascherano, I think, has not been able to evolve the team shortly in his tenure. The team plays with less intensity than they did before. And you mentioned it. Now teams know their weaknesses, know how to attack them, and they're getting results. So it doesn't bode well for a huge summer for the club at the Club World Cup.
Felipe, just quickly, as we sit here, do you think Inter Miami win a trophy this season?
I don't think so. I mean, when I came into the season, one of my boldest predictions if you want to call it bold, is that I thought Lionel Messi would have a slower start to the year. He wouldn't have an MVP caliber season. Yes, he would be in the conversation, but he wouldn't have an MVP caliber season. They would be focused solely on really getting a result in the CONCACAF Champions Cup, which we know is difficult to win. They were knocked out there, humiliated by Vancouver, and now they have the Club World Cup, where I think is going to be a very difficult tournament for them as well. So that leaves MLS Cup, and as we know, right now they're not the top team in the East, and they're going to have to struggle to get up to the top of the table to earn a home match. And if that doesn't happen, the run to the MLS Cup gets more and more difficult. So right now, it doesn't look like they will. It does look like perhaps that Messi will be back for another go, but 2025 looking like a trophyless season for Inter Miami right now.
Ian, do you agree?
I find it hard to agree that they won't get to MLS Cup and not win it. I find it hard because obviously when you've got those types of players, you always have an opportunity of lifting MLS Cup. I'll go back to my own history. I was a part of a Real Salt Lake team, 2008, 2009, that barely snuck into the playoffs. And in 2009, the team went on to win it. And they weren't the best team in Major League Soccer that year. So all you have to do is get to the big dance. If you can get these players playing their best football, you can win Major League Soccer's big trophy. The biggest problem I've got with them right now is their lack of discipline. That is hurting them right now. All of the talk with the referee and the back chat between one another and the semi-biting, I don't quite like. I don't agree with. I think they need to improve in multi-facets before they have any chance.
Such an interesting question, Felipe. We've got to leave it there. Thanks so much for your insight. As always, we'll chat to you soon.
Great stuff.
It's a tough game, as we said, for Inter Miami this weekend. They face Eastern Conference leaders Philadelphia Union, Western Conference front runners Vancouver. What a season it's been for them so far.